In 334 BC, Alexander, son of Philip of Macedonia, decided to pursue his father's dream of invading the Persian Empire, so he gathered the Macedonian army, adding contingents among the most important Greek cities within the Macedonian hegemony. Only Sparta refused its support to the enterprise. Alexander's decision was dictated by personal ambition and the need to obtain the resources to finance his powerful but expensive army. Alexander first sent Parmenion with a part of the army beyond the Hellespont to create a bridgehead in order to facilitate the crossing of the strait for the bulk of his army. The news of the invasion reached the local Persian governor, whose service included 8,000 Greek mercenaries under the command of the general Memnon of Rhodes. The satraps they consulted with Memnon on what to do. While being an expert general, he suggested to withdraw and destroy all the resources that Alexander could have needed along his advance to feed his army. And only when the Macedonian army was considerably weakened, the Persians should accept the clash in the open field. The Persian governor, however, they were against the idea of Memnon, since the destruction of the resources of their territory would have harmed their prestige in front of the Greek king Darius III, as well as diminishing their personal wealth. More than this, Persians considered that Memnon, as a mercenary, wanted to prolong the war, to get more funding from Darius III. So it was that the wise advice of Memnon was refused. The Persians at this point gathered the troops and marched toward the Macedonian army along the coast of western Turkey, encamping at Delia. The troops gathered by the satraps were composed of about 33,000 men, 15,000 of whom knights, and the infantry included 8,000 Greek mercenaries and about 10,000 Persians. It should be emphasized that the Greek infantry was superior to the Persian one, and therefore the only Persian infantry force that could really resist to the Macedonian war professionals was made up, paradoxically, of the Greek mercenaries. Alexander could not ask for better from his adversaries than an open field battle. The sea was then in fact firmly in Persian hands, and a dilatory tactic by the Persians would certainly put him in serious trouble compared to the playing his card in a single pitched battle, in which he could count on an army of expert warriors and a very high-level general staff. The two armies faced each other on the Granicus River. Alexander confronted his generals on what to do, and Parmenion suggested waiting for dawn of the next day to cross the river, given the Persian custom to untie the horses at night, a custom that would have seen the Persian cavalry unprepared to resist to an attack that took place at dawn. According to the version that I consider most likely, Alexander did not listen to Parmenion's advice and attempted a first crossing of the river, but was defeated by the Persians stationed along the steep and opposite bank of the river, a bank which provided the Persians with an excellent defensive position, from which they could repel the Macedonians. So it was that the two armies they camped for the night. At this point Alexander accepted Parmenion's suggestion, and before dawn he ordered half of the knights to cross the Granicus on his left. When day came, the Persians noticed the Macedonian crossing and hastily launched the cavalry toward Alexander's left wing, but while Alexander himself was crossing the Granicus with the rest of his army. Alexander at the head of the cavalry on the right wing. Once he had crossed the Granicus, he launched himself against the Persian cavalry, attacking them from behind and putting them in escape. For the Persians, only the infantry remained on the field, who had had no time to reach the banks of the river to face Macedonians before the crossing. The Persian infantry, left without the support of their cavalry in the middle of the battlefield, was easily attacked, put to flight and largely massacred. The Macedonian lost about 400 men in the battle, while the Persian left about 4,000 on the field. At the end of the battle, the Greek prisoners of the Persian army were killed. Alexander, in fact, wanted to act as avenger of the Greek on the Persian, and could not accept that the Greeks militated in the Persian ranks. To crown this ideology, the Macedonians chose 300 armors, a number that recalled the number of the heroes of the Thermopylae battle, and sent them to Athens, emphasizing the absence of the Spartans among the people who had joined Alexander. The first clash between Macedonians and Persians has seen the victory of the Macedonian. Now the Persian Empire of Darius III had to recognize that it was facing a formidable opponent, and he has to collect all the resources of the empire to have a chance to stand against him. Alexander's strategy discounted the inferiority of this fleet. He therefore aimed to oust the Persians from the Mediterranean by occupying all the Persian ports in that sea. So it was that, after the battle, Alexander pointed toward Halicarnassus as the next target.